Okay, what is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez up to? The New York Congresswoman making headlines both politically and personally in what seems to be a calculated strategy. First, she told and showed the world that she's freezing her eggs. She's documenting her exercise routines. She says she's not ruling out a presidential run, and she's trying to distance herself from the woke era of Democratic politics that have become fodder for the right wing. In an interview, she laughed off that era as crazy, saying that the policy debates were fruitful. Conservatives say she and the left shouldn't be let off the hook that easy. New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani reacted to her comments today.
You yourself have walked back, defund the police. Do you think Woke One was crazy?
Each person has a responsibility to tell New Yorkers, to tell Americans when they're running for office what they believe. And sometimes what you believe can change. It can develop, it can grow. And I know that there are some for whom they still believe in that. I've made very clear that I do not believe in defunding the police, that I will not be defunding the police.
All right, Scott, I'm going to start with you. AOC, I know she's your favorite politician. You're a huge admirer of her. I mean, what do you think her tactic is here? And do you see it being emulated successfully by other Democrats who want to distance themselves perhaps from some of those comments that we've talked about earlier today?
My perception is that other Democrats aren't in the same position as her. And that position is she quite likely is the front runner for president for 2028. I assume it'll either be her or Kamala Harris. It'll be one of the two. And in order for her to be viable in a national general election.
Why do you say that? Why do you think she's
I actually
viable?
disagree. I think it's going to be a man that Democrats are going to nominate, sadly. I have no problem with it being a woman, but I'm just saying that they've nominated women back to back. So I would think that it's more than likely that the Democratic Party.
One won the national popular vote. I mean, look, she is the leader. She is the heir to the Sanders socialist movement. She is clearly the inspirational leader of that movement. That energy in the Democratic Party is on the move. And that's helpful in some primaries. To be viable in a national general election, you would have to get away from Woke One and try to laugh it off, although I don't think that tactic is going to be successful. My suspicion is Harris is going to try to co-opt this lane as well. I know she's already making calls to some of the socialists to try to get in with them. But to me, it's AOC or Harris, and she's far more talented and has a much better understanding of modern communications than Harris does. I would not discount the probability that AOC will be the standard bearer for Democrats in 28.
Lydia, do you think she's formidable? I mean, do you think Republicans would like to run against her or are afraid of running against her?
I think Republicans want to run against Kamala Harris, who has a bad habit of putting her foot in her mouth. I think most recently she said voter ID was a terrible idea because people would have to show who they say they are, and most people responded with, okay. AOC has an ability to dominate the news cycle that I think we've only really seen with Donald Trump. I mean, people have been now obsessed with talking about her egg freezing journey. She's caused a lot of controversy. Conservatives have gone after her. She sort of rage baited and controlled and owned the news cycle. And she comes across as somebody who's very likable, right?
Relatable.
But I think the issue with the whole Woke One is crazy thing and why she's going to have to do more than just laugh it off, is she was the one who led this movement, right? I mean, that's like saying, oh, the first, Salem witch trial, it was crazy. No, you have to explain, or is it the woke people say, do the work and explain why you're trying to distance yourself from that. You can't, as a leader, fall prey to something and say, oh, oops, and then be expected to be trusted with responsibility once again. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about how conservatives view her, but the comments that we're talking about here, she received criticism from the left, not from the right. That's the story here, is that she was getting attacked by the progressives and the DSA people because she was abandoning what they saw as their platform based on 2020 grievances that she was elected to help repair, that they don't feel that she's delivered on. So she's got more of a problem on the left than a lot of people realize. But I also think that because of what you said, because she's a lightning rod now, there's nothing she can't do without getting criticized by everyone. I mean, I come from an IVF family. And, my wife has written a lot about our IVF journey. And I've come to know for sure that this is an area where there's not a lot of really good information for women, and where there needs to be a lot of taboo breaking, a lot more demystifying. And that's what she was doing. But everyone attacked her for it. I thought what she did was brave. And she just got a wave of misogyny and hate from everyone. So I think that this is what it is. She understands the territory that she's in, and she's doing what she's navigating best she can. But there's no way she can.
But do you think she's a front runner for 28?
No. So
I think she's in the mix for sure. She may be a kingmaker, not a king.
Yeah.
Queen
So
maker,
like I think that there's a great deal of audacity for a lot of people to be discussing, a 36-year-old career woman, how she's navigating and maturing throughout this process, balancing Washington, D.C., the wants to have a family, things that women go through and deal with those pressures day in and day out. And I just think that the audacity of a lot of people, these people who sit in their basement, tweet all day and eat Cheerios off their stomach, criticizing her for her IVF journey.
Guilty as charged.
Is like a weird thing that happens. And so I applaud her for having the audacity to be true to herself. Now, this whole thing about her being a front runner is just absent the reality of what the democratic process is. And so now let me just educate my friends on the panel about what the map is. It's South Carolina, it's New Mexico, it's Nevada, it's Virginia, and it's Michigan. And so the politics of DSA, the politics of the progressive movement are not necessarily something that are going to bode well in those first few states whereby you have to go and talk about the moderate voters that we just.
But this is what the pivot's about, right?
It's smart for her.
So that's what I'm saying. However, to Scott's point, somewhat is that it's very difficult to shed your brand right now to run for office. And so her brand is that queen of the progressive movement, and that's what people know her for. And she's going to have to lean into that because when you get in betwixt and in between, then people start questioning what you stand for. And I think the map is a very real reality for a lot of
Who's the
people.
front runner, Harris?
I will say, though, that I think that if she wants to be a serious contender, she does need to shed these bad policies because they are bad policies. Defund the police, bad policy. It's radioactive. And so if she means it and is truly authentic with it and voters buy it, then she could be a serious contender. And I'm willing to give her grace that if she truly has seen the light and thinks, okay, this is a bad policy, then I'll do that. Because, look, J.D. Vance was someone who said that Trump was America's Hitler, and he went on to be his vice president. So I think that we can extend that grace to her, that if she is truly moderating her positions. But it does seem like there is a political motive here that she knows to be a serious contender. She has to.
There is gambling in the casino.
If you look at cross sections of who are front runners right now, because you asked the question, I mean, you have to look at somebody I'm not a fan of, like Gavin Newsom, but you also have to look at the people like Wes Moore, for example. You have to look at John Ossoff. You have to look at Scott Jennings' very best friend in all of politics, Andy Bashir. I mean, these are individuals. Andy Bashir is a winner, right? Wes Moore is a winner who looks like a president, and John Ossoff as well. You have Josh Shapiro. You have all of these.
J.B. Pritzker.
J.B. Pritzker. You have all of these individuals. So to crown someone to be the front runner simply because they are articulating who they are, and she communicates extremely well.
I mean, they're doing that for a reason.
I know. But I think what she it's not enough to just say, haha, that was crazy, and move on. She's actually going to have to explain some things. What does she think is woke? Is she no longer in favor of children being transitioned, right? Does she think, I mean, there's comments from 2020, teachers union saying the push to open schools is sexist, racist, and misogynist.
But
does she no longer believe that? Does she no longer believe America's a racist? Like, she's going to have to
that's
explain.
That's decently fake. So let me explain to you what being woke
I'm going to bring in a comment, though, from a viewer. MAGA would love to run against a woman in the next presidential election. Reaction. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think
they would, because they have a streak of winning against female candidates.
I was like,
what does MAGA think?
No, my view is
3 for 3.
McConnell.
My view is that we want the brightest possible contrast between the people who love America and the people who think it's rotten at the core and think it ought to be ripped out root and branch. She represents this group of people who fundamentally dislike the pillars of American culture, and they want to change it, and we want to run against that. So whether it's her or whether it's, the gender is irrelevant. To me, it is, what is your outlook on American values? Yeah. That's the contrast. I
just have to call that what it is, because it's not true. And this is what happens when we kind of wade into these debates. First, the most qualified person ever run for president was in 2016, and she got beat. That's Hillary Clinton. She's the most qualified person ever run. She won the national popular vote. But yeah, she did. But she, man or woman, she's the most qualified person ever run. She got beat. However, when you're having conversations about woke, which the right has taken and bastardized, and when you're talking about people hate America, that's not the case. Like, my grandfather went to war for this country. I criticize her all the time because I believe that she did not fulfill the promises necessary to everyone under the sound of our voice. right? Regardless of who you love or who you pray to or what you look like, this country has issued bounced checks to different groups of people year in and year out. And so it's not about hating America. In fact, my criticism of this country is she can be so much better. And the fact that I believe she can be better makes me more American than those people who simply say I hate it.
I wouldn't discount the possibility that there's a woman on the Republican ticket in 2028 either.
Nikki Haley.
I was thinking Sarah Sanders.
You think Sarah Sanders?
Well, I think
actually makes more
JD Vance is quite clearly the front runner, but
Yeah,
Sarah
on the other
Sanders,
side of the ticket.
but Sarah Sanders, I think, is one of our top 3 or 4 most competent, popular, articulate possibilities for the national ticket. I think you're exactly right.
All right, everybody stand
I
by.
want that in writing. Scott said I'm exactly right.
Everybody stand by.
Flip
Next, ICE agents will soon be able to shock people with their hands. We'll discuss. Plus, Donald Trump's pet projects at the White House are now said to be costing taxpayers close to $1 billion. More ahead.